I harken back from the days when hard shell with hydrocal was the big rage. I've done work with that where you crumple up the newspapers, you create a nest or something, and you create some form work. Since then, a lot of the stuff has gone over to this rigid foam, and hydrocal, even where I'm located, not too far out of Chicago, is a little bit hard to come by. So I had to look for other alternatives. Now, you may have noticed that when I was working on the bridge itself, I was using Easy Sand 45 to work in the arches. The reason I used Easy Sand 45 is, well, it's just like the name says, it's easy to sand. The stuff I want to use here on the module itself, since it is just really hard shelling to put the rest of the scenery on, is Durabond 45. It's a material that used to use in construction when I was doing that type of work. You would use that to set your tape when you're doing drywall work. It's hard. It doesn't sand very easy, not like the Easy Sand. And that's what I'm after. I'm looking for something that's a hard finish, something that's very similar to the Hydrocal. I also posted that I was going to look for Scott Seafold towels. That's what worked well in the past. Um, I had a hard time finding it without having to buy a whole case for 50, 60 bucks. I don't want to spend that kind of money at one time. So what I've gone to is I went over to the paint department. I understand it could be found like at the Lowe's or the Home Depots. I actually got mine from Blaine's Farm and Fleet, and it's called the Scott Rags in a box. They have three different grades of them. The one I chose is the all-purpose. It's when I showed my wife, she says, "Oh yeah, that's very similar to Bounty." What I'm hoping for is this is going to be strong enough to be able to saturate this Durabond in it, and then without tearing and falling all apart, and let it set up. I've seen other people use for making the gauze, the plaster soaked gauze for making a cast if you break your arm or something like that. I looked at some of that stuff. To me, it's too expensive. Uh, Between the Durabond and the rags, I'm looking at about 18 bucks. I think this was around $10 for a box of 200 of these. The Durabond was, I believe, $8 for a 45-pound bag, or excuse me, a 25-pound bag. Um, in some areas of the country, the Durabond, I understand, is a little hard to come by, just as I'm starting to find out this foam that I use to make the base in certain parts of the country are a little hard to come by also. But having said that, we're going to mix up a batch. We're going to see how it turns out. I got my old um, mud pan for drywalling, and what I've done is I've taken, opened up the bag, and I got about 3 scoops off of this trowel and put it in here. Now, there's a couple of things to know about when you're mixing plaster. This one is not going to be very critical. One of the things about powder plaster like this is a little water goes a long ways. Actually, in the case of this one, what I'm going to look for is I'm going to look for a fairly soupy mix. So I just poured a little water in an old paint cup. And I'm going to start mixing this up. With, like I say, the 45, the Easy Sand, or the Durabond 45, it says it's got about a 30-minute working time. We've always gone by the numbers. That 45 is, that's really how much time you actually got. And I can tell you right now, once I get this mixed up a little bit, I can see I'm probably going to need a little bit more water, because I do want this fairly soupy. Yes, it is going to be extremely thick. I don't want that. Because what I want to do is I'm going to be able to dip those rags in there and saturate them. At least on the first coat. Anything after that, I'm going to see what we're going to have. I may even look at something like this for building roads at a later date. Now another trick I've used in the past when I used to do this is I maybe go to Goodwill Industries, Salvation Army, or any of the thrift stores or something and look for an old handheld mixer. Believe it or not, it actually fits in here. Down in here, it mixes this up very nicely. I do have one. I'm just going to have it down here. So I'm going to do this first one just by hand. You can see I get a little bit of lumps. So I can get a little, and I think I can go just a little bit thinner on the mud. And like I say, a little bit of water goes a long ways when it comes to mixing up this plaster. That's about what I'm looking for. Something that's a little soupy. Something I can just take and put the rags right down in there and saturate them and then form them. Right. So here you're seeing at the high end of this module, I've kind of cut some pieces. I actually want to do is I want to fit these down in here. So when I put my bridge piers in place, I'm going to kind of protect this edge. So the best thing to do, I think, we're going to find out, it's been a while, is we're just going to dip this all in here. And get it all nice and full of plaster. Okay. And I'm just going to try to lay this down. You've probably also seen that I posted it and I was getting prepared for this. I taped off all the edges. Alright, this is where I guess this is going to be the fun part. And just grab a little handful. Use your tools that God gave you. And smear it out. Cover it all. When I was doing the bridge itself, I was using that fiberglass mesh, and I was getting some pretty good results with that. The only problem with that mesh that I found is it is fiberglass, and yes, you do get the itchies. A little bit more over here. When I made these openings here, I did make them a little bit oversized for my piers. And that is so that I could fit them in here. What little bit I may have to deal with as far as oversize, I'm hoping that I could handle that with a little bit of scenery material, a little bit of foliage. God only knows nobody ever cleans up around the concrete. It seems where all the stuff lives. And I can see right now I'm not going to get a heck of a lot done with that small batch. What I was finding in the past when I was doing some of the other parts of the bridge is about 3 scoops, and that was about all I could work at a time. But now that I am doing these big sheets like this, I gotta believe I might have to go with a much bigger batch. But we're gonna see if we can get these first few pieces on here so we can see how this is set up. Alright, I think I got a good soak on that one. know in the past working with Hydrocal, Hydrocal is set up real quick. I'm hoping, like I say, with the 45 minutes, I got plenty of time to actually clean up my hands and everything. Alright, so we'll go, let's see what the second one looks like. Get that into there. When I did mask this all off, that gives me a chance to actually, now I have to worry about my edges too much, getting them all dirty. That's one of the things I do when I started building this thing. A lot of it has been designed so that I'm using the finish face is also a structural member. So let's get a little bit, looks like I can get some right there. Just make sure it's all going to stick. And I think they'll do pretty good on this. Kind of reminds you of being a kid and making mud pies out in the yard. And your mom yelling at you because the water bill is so high. But boy, do we have fun. So let's see if we can get this last one on here before I have to make up another batch. I might be able to. I'm going to say some of this is going to be, it's been a few years since I've actually had to do this hard shell. Actually, this is trying a new way. This is new for me. Other people may have tried it. I'll be the guinea pig. Some on here. Saturate that a little bit. So far, I'm liking the way this is going to turn out, I believe. These rags look like they're given just enough that they conform to the contour I have below. And let's see, I gotta get my trowel. Good old trowel, been with me for many years.